Thank you, everyone. This is Michael Farthing, Senior Sales Engineer for the channel at MegaPath, and I'm joined today by Matt Mayhew, who is our Product Manager for Managed Services. And today's webinar is talking about SD-WAN as an MPLS replacement. Housekeeping note, throughout the session, as you have questions, please go ahead and jot them down into the chat window, and then we will answer all of those and any more that come up at the end of the session. So again, please use the chat window, and we will answer all of your questions there. So let's jump right in. We have got an exciting half hour for you, and please put your thinking caps on and ask lots of questions. We would love to answer those for you. So, first off, let's think about where we've really been over the last few years, and that is that MPLS has been the prime way to connect multiple sites. That's the prime WAN connection for almost 20 years now. But as being reported in the industry news, that long time, as it's called here, King of WAN services is being replaced. Something better has come along, something less expensive, easier to implement, and that is software-defined wide area networking. And we'll talk to you about today about how MegaPath is putting that together. So when we think of wide area networking right now, typically it is very expensive circuits like T1s, Ethernet circuits. Many organizations only use a single circuit. They were trying to save costs when circuits were expensive. So by brittle, we mean if something happens to that single circuit, that site is offline. And to increase bandwidth, especially on T1s, is very expensive. You're doubling and tripling costs as you add 2 and 3 circuits. Organizations are finding, though, that they're doing more and more in the cloud. Document sizes are getting bigger, emails are getting bigger. So much is becoming more graphic. There's a lot more video going on, moving things to the cloud. So that means that traffic is constantly increasing. You can never sit still if you're a network admin, network engineer, because you're always needing to basically reinvent your WAN. Here it's showing that basically every 3 years your traffic is doubling. Of course, that's going to be a little bit different for each organization, but on average, I would say that is pretty darn true. That's what we're definitely seeing here. And with all of the move to the cloud, it means that these days traffic is not going between sites and headquarters so much anymore. It's going between sites and headquarters and data centers or cloud providers. Things are sitting out in Azure now, out in Google, out in AWS, or all the other places that people are doing hosted apps. And that comes to us from a well-respected Gartner. One of the things that also is coming up these days, because so much is now out in the cloud, is uptime. If servers are not sitting inside the environment, that means that business really goes offline if there is any circuit outage. And so when you think about uptime SLAs, 99.9% is a common one for circuits. If you think of a total year being about 8,700 hours, that means 99.9% uptime is going to give you basically a whole day of outage every single year. And so if you think about to a business, what is just being down unexpectedly for a day every year going to cost you? For some organizations, it's going to be a few $1,000. Other organizations, it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you're somebody like Amazon, right, you depend on everything being up. And then we should also talk about brownouts. So a brownout for our vernacular means that this is a site where the circuit is not down completely, but is having some degradation happen. So it's either suffering from high latency or jitter, it's getting extensive packet loss, bandwidth is fluctuating. It can happen on cable circuits, for example. So they're not experiencing a complete lack of ability to get to the internet, but it might seem like it because the circuit is not performing appropriately or even near to optimal. And so SD-WAN can definitely help with that. So why SD-WAN versus MPLS? Certainly MPLS has had a great run, but it's got some drawbacks. For example, install, not so quick. SD-WAN, super fast. It's circuits plus a couple days, not months. Far less money. SD-WAN is really circuit agnostic. You can use cable, fiber, DSL, T1s, Ethernet, Fios, UVerse, you name it, even wireless. You can use all those types of circuits, meaning you can use that commodity, inexpensive broadband, so far less money. And because everything costs a lot less, it means you can get far faster, like 10 times faster speed for the price you would have been spending, or maybe save yourself some cash and still go a lot faster. So we're talking about here like a 3-year term, total cost of ownership. So some of the other reasons that SD-WAN is taking over, it allows you to use whatever circuits you want. You can aggregate those with MegaPath and bundle them all together, or you can use any circuit from anybody that you want. By using that low-cost bandwidth, maybe bundle it together with, say, a low-cost cable circuit, maybe a higher cost but higher performance Ethernet circuit. Really, you get kind of the best of both worlds without doing a super high-cost both circuits or super low performance both circuits. By being redundant, using multiple vendors, multiple carriers, you have the advantage of not even going over the same infrastructure. For example, if you use a coax cable type vendor and say a typical telephony where you're using, say, an Ethernet circuit, you have complete redundancy across the network. No two parts of those types of connections ever touch other than customer site. Of course, customers also want to make sure that things are still secure, and SD-WAN does still connect everything securely between locations, whether that's sites and headquarters or data centers. Everything is done with IPsec VPN tunnels. So all the traffic between these sites can be these encrypted tunnels, and then traffic that doesn't need to go over those VPN tunnels can just go out to the internet as it normally would do. And for fast deployment, this is much, much faster. You don't have to be a network engineer to make it happen. Basically, for us, it's talking about, what do you want IP schemes to be? What do you want your firewall or content filtering rules to be? And you're good. And then it's just a matter of either deploying it on top of circuits that are already there, or install some new circuits, and just a couple of days later, we can deploy it right over the top of that. And then let's talk about quality of experience. This is sort of the new term that's taking over for quality of service. So this is a great slide that I think that illustrates exactly what our SD-WAN enterprise can do. So down below, the bottom two circuits, well, if you tilt your head to the left, you'll see the bottom two are labeled before. So this could be, say, a cable circuit and a T1 circuit. The yellow and the red mean that it's suffering from either moderate to severe problems. And if you look at the score on the right-hand side, that middle circuit is getting a score of 4.49, meaning it's, and this is out of 10, meaning it's not even performing at 50% optimal, right? It's got some major, major issues. And it's pretty continuous. There's not very many segments of time where the circuit is green. Compare that to the extreme bottom circuit. You see there's a big time period where it's pretty marginal, but it does have more green overall than the middle circuit. So it scores a little bit better at 5.43, again out of 10. So two circuits, if these were the circuits you had and that's all you were doing was a standard dedicated internet access, the people in this office would say, our internet is broken. Something, we're not getting the speed, things are not, documents are not being passed across properly, email is coming in slowly, like it just is not working for us. In comes SD-WAN Enterprise, and through the optimization that it can do, because there is gear on both ends of the circuits, it's able to watch in real time and move packets around in real time, and traffic shape and forward error correction, all sorts of great technology, and it's able to put the packets across these circuits in such a manner that now, if you look at the top line, that after the effect of having SD-WAN Enterprise, it's the overall experience of the people in this office was now going to be a 9.55 out of 10. So they're, instead of having two circuits that are performing very poorly, they've now got a great connection that they're really not even going to notice that anything is up, because their overall experience of things is, hey, things are working great. It's fast. I'm up. We're getting the bandwidth that we need. All is good. But us in the Network Operations Center, or customers, if they were to look at the dashboard, would see, gee, we might want to take a look at actually doing some troubleshooting on these circuits to make a better experience. But know that through really the power of SD-WAN Enterprise, the site is online and very stable. Now let's take a look at a couple of use cases around this migration, kind of the highlight of today's session. So the first is a multi-site retail organization. This is a company we worked with out of California, multiple sites, I believe about 25 sites, primarily using T1s. A couple of sites did have Ethernet over copper. They also were MegaPath voice customer. And since they were using MPLS initially, it's managed service, managed security. Now, T1s, as you can imagine, pretty slow. That's right. Certainly 10 years ago, 5 years ago, probably fine. But nowadays, it's not working for them. They've got point of sale. They've got HR. They do need to check online catalogs, and T1 just not working for them. Also, in some locations, they have situations where they're experiencing poor copper, and so T1 is just not cutting it. They wanted to move to cable. Also take a look maybe at wireless as an option, and just over time, they wanted to move up in bandwidth, and that was going to, of course, increase costs. And they did not want to do that. They're trying to run very lean. So what do they ultimately need? They need that redundancy. They cannot rely just on a single connection. They need a lot more bandwidth. They don't want to be tied to one carrier's problems, problem copper. They've got to be up all the time, right? They're trying to run their business. They need to be able to swipe credit cards. They need to be able to check those online catalogs. All this stuff is really critical to them. They were also very leery of having any challenges in getting all this set up, right? They didn't want to have an extended outage or maintenance window. They wanted to make sure that it impacted their retail stores as little as possible. So I'll talk to you about what we did technically and then also the install process. So now at these sites, doing 2 circuits, they wanted to go for cable typically and back up either Ethernet or wireless depending on what was available there. They've got that redundancy now, so good failover option if you want to think about it that way. But really, SD-WAN allows them to use both circuits all the time. So really, it's more of load balancing than failover. But it means that they've got really the best bang for their buck, right? They can use both circuits all the time. They're not just having one circuit just sit out there. So the CFO definitely likes that thought that they get more bandwidth and they're not wasting money by having stuff that's just sitting there not getting used. And we're still able to traffic shape for the hosted voice, so that's got priority over everything else. Of course, voice depends on real-time transmission of the traffic, so it's got the highest level of priority. And then we still want to make sure that we give them the security they need. So we've got VPN tunnels between headquarters and all of these locations. And that way, they don't have to worry about, not being in compliance with PCI, for example, or just best security practices. So that's one location. One first option. The second case is around a quick service restaurant. Now, in many ways, very, very similar. Started out as an MPLS client. They're typically using T1s, Ethernet. They'll also use, depending on what's available for the location, cable, DSL if they have to. So it's kind of what they can get their hands on. This customer that uses Wi-Fi, point of sale, HR applications. As you can imagine, most people these days are wanting to swipe their credit cards to pay for things, so systems have to be up. Things like HR, that'd be your time clock, calendaring system for vacation and stuff, and they're trying to provide both Wi-Fi for themselves as well as guests. So they need good connectivity and they need it up all the time. Again, problem area was, they've got multiple outages occurring. Costs of these T1s and Ethernet, they want to try to balance that out a little bit better. And then also for them, they're a rapidly growing restaurant chain, and they're constantly installing new sites or sometimes even having to make changes. And in an MPLS environment, that's costly and time-consuming and just not fun for anybody. Not fun for us as a carrier, not fun for them. So they definitely wanted to increase their redundancy, make sure that all of their applications, of course, are always up. And one of the other things that's kind of unique about SD-WAN versus MPLS is they now are having the ability to get out of this sense of network maintenance windows that you would have in an MPLS environment, because MPLS relies on a very specific core network setup with whoever the MPLS carrier is. And if maintenance has to happen, either because of an unplanned outage or just upgrade of something, you're taking part of the network down. And many times, unfortunately for this particular customer, what they were experiencing is those network windows or the maintenance windows were actually taking the customer offline for too long, wasn't coming back online fast enough in the morning. So, big issue for them. And that's different than SD-WAN. With SD-WAN, while it's true that it is centrally managed, central dashboard for performance reporting, the day-to-day operation is not actually dependent on any central network element. With SD-WAN, there is no central network in that same sense as MPLS. Once the devices at the customer locations have their configuration, they're on autopilot. Now, they are normally reporting out performance information, but their day-to-day routing and functioning does not require any central connection. They just operate until they're told to do something different. So no more maintenance windows, no more network outages causing site outages. So very good for this particular customer and really for everybody. And then, of course, they want fast installs, fast moves, adds, and changes, and they can have all of that with SD-WAN. So we're able to increase their redundancy posture using the most economical circuits with the best bandwidth possible. And again, those can be from different carriers. We have access at MegaPath to hundreds of network providers throughout the country. So you've got lots of options with MegaPath. We're load balancing, again, using both circuits all the time. And then, of course, we're still traffic shaping voice and point of sale, and then everything that needs to go over the encrypted VPN tunnel is doing so. So great increased speed, increased cost, or ease of use, and lowered costs. Now, for a setup, really it's pretty simple to understand if you think about it. So both of these situations, and most customers, I would say, especially in an MPLS environment, have some sense of HQ or data center, right? It's got a hub, and all the rest of the sites are typically operating as spokes. So what you do initially is you set up the first pair, HQ and one of the branch locations. So that's your hub router and your first branch router. And at the sites, just one by one, site after site, you're putting in the new circuit if necessary, you're putting in the new SD-WAN router, and then the technician is taking that site off of the MPLS network, right? Unplugging the LAN from the MPLS router. At that point, that site is now connecting back to the headquarters of data center via the new IPsec VPN tunnel system, right? The new SD-WAN, and no longer communicating over the MPLS to that site. So that means that HQ or the data center, there needs to be either servers that can talk to both networks at the same time, or customer router that can talk to both networks at the same time. Because until the new system is completely set up, the MPLS network is coexisting, right? So both networks are all there. Incrementally, the MPLS is going away, and incrementally, we're turning up site by site the new SD-WAN. And that time frame can totally be scheduled based on customer goals and requirements, right? If they want to do everything super fast, we can do that. If they want to spend a little bit more time, maybe they're stretched thin or don't have the resources that they might need for a super fast rollout, we can customize it to them. So that's what you do for my rollout. So again, we're looking to prevent any long drawn out outage. All of the SD-WAN gear gets pre-configured from the central dashboard, and the technician that goes out to install it is there really just to plug things in, unplug the other, IP the box if it needs to be, if the circuits are static IP, for example. But the tech is not out actually there, just configuring the router. That's already basically, once the router gets online, grabs its config, and it's ready to go. So install with SD-WAN at the sites goes very quickly. And because the old circuit is still around, if something really went haywire, we can always plug them right back into the MPLS and figure out what needs to happen in that regard. So any questions about that, please just put them right in the chat, and we'll come to that at the next section. So now I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Matt Mayhew, Product Manager for Managed Services, and he's going to talk about the next few items.
All righty. Thank you, Michael. So I wanted to quickly touch on MegaPath's approach to SD-WAN. Michael did a great job outlining why MPLS customers are moving en masse to SD-WAN. And I wanted to quickly highlight MegaPath's approach. Now, we're seeing a lot of providers out there are really racing the market to get an SD-WAN solution. They're seeing the writing on the wall, they're seeing the opportunity, and they're getting there as fast as they can. With MegaPath, we are in market already, and we actually have multiple flavors of SD-WAN. We don't necessarily feel that SD-WAN is a one-size-fits-all solution, and we have multiple flavors. We have our SD-WAN Pro and our SD-WAN Enterprise solutions, and we'll actually, in a slide or two, go into a step-by-step look and kind of discuss the differences between the two. We also made the choice that our product can be a completely over-the-top or OTT solution. MegaPath has a wide range of access services we could provide. We've got a great portfolio that we'd love to leverage. But if you are a customer or you have a customer that is already in contract with someone else, or for whatever reason, we're not the best choice for your access solution for a location, we will put our SD-WAN service right on top of somebody else's access. Some of my competition in market, and I'm giving you guys the air quotes now, but they do not want to improve the competition's access. That's not MegaPath's strategy. We will put it on top of any solution out there. We talk a lot about the large multi-site MPLS replacement opportunities. Obviously, this is a great solution for that. But if you've got a single site that has a large requirement for bandwidth or you need reliability, SD-WAN would work just as well for that. So a IPsec tunnel is not a requirement for SD-WAN. MegaPath is a fully managed solution. So from the initial service design with Michael Farthing and his comrades on the sales engineering team to the actual installation when you're going to get a dedicated project manager to work with you and to oversee your install. And then at the end of that, they're going to hand it off to our 100% US-based technical support team. So if we look next at the SD-WAN market, it is very hot right now. We've seen multiple studies and we've heard multiple people discuss it. And really, the bottom line is that this is a very rapidly growing market. We haven't seen a market this primed to explode since hosted voice was in its infancy, and hosted voice is still, a leading driver of our company and a lot of telecom providers out there today. Some of the numbers we gathered from Gartner and Reno and IDC predict that the enterprise SD-WAN space is going to reach $6 billion by the year 2020. Revenue is going to grow at a 90% clip each year for the next 5 years. And then in less than 2 years, half of all enterprises will have SD-WAN at some or all of their branch offices today. So this is growing at an increasingly fast rate, and it's here and it's here to stay, and the opportunity is now for it. If we look at the Enterprise and the Pro side by side, I mentioned we've got the two flavors. So if you're looking to accomplish IPsec VPN connectivity between sites, both the Pro and the Enterprise will work for you. If you're looking to accomplish load balancing, so you've got multiple circuits, you want to have traffic type A go over circuit 1, you can do that. If you want to have traffic type B go over circuit 2, you could do that. And if you wanted to do failover, both wired or wireless, you could accomplish that via Pro or Enterprise. And really the difference comes to when you look at these next couple boxes, which is highlighted in red here. The fact that the Pro does their monitoring and their application networking via session, while the Enterprise does it via the packet level, meaning that, and Michael touched on this earlier, we're able to actually send over the packets over the best performing circuit at any moment in time. So it's able to sense real time if a circuit is getting some degradation, and you're able to leverage the other circuit online. So you're able to do dynamic path selection, you're able to aggregate bandwidth circuits, and because of that you're able to do real-time application failover. And if we look at the next slide, we're going to highlight our MegaPath Red platform, which actually is a service that we've put together for businesses that really cannot afford downtime. Michael mentioned that most applications now are moving to the cloud, so it does not matter how safe, secure, and redundant your cloud applications are if your network locally is down. And so MegaPath Red takes advantage of our SD-WAN Enterprise solution and at least one MegaPath T1 or Ethernet circuit. with a second circuit which does not have to be MegaPath. So basically your customer profile is SD-WAN Enterprise, 2 circuits, one of which has to be MegaPath. And if you fit that bill, you are considered a MegaPath Red customer. And as a Red customer, you get a number of things. First of all, you get free proactive monitoring for all circuits. You're going to get 100% uptime SLA guarantee, and I'll actually touch on that here in one moment. You're going to get a priority 800 number and PIN. So if you ever need technical support, you're going to be able to call into this special phone queue, which is going to bypass our Tier 1 and get you straight into Tier 2 ticket support. You're going to get priority handling by that team. And you're also going to get 10% off any MegaPath hosted voice services that you may be interested in. So I mentioned that 100% SLA. So you know, a lot of competition, they'll put 100% SLA on a service. You know, some of our competitors have 100% uptime SLA on their SD-WAN service. But if you really dig into it, there's really no teeth to that. You know, you'll get maybe 5% bill credit of your SD-WAN service alone. Well, MegaPath with our SD-WAN solution, we're actually going to give a SLA credit for not only your SD-WAN product, but any access as well. And you're going to get 50% of your monthly recurring cost if there's any downtime, or a $1,000 bill credit, whichever is actually greater. And so we're really confident in our SD-WAN solution. We're really confident in this as a product, and we're putting our money where our mouth is, so that if we ever drop the ball, if we ever have any downtime at all, we're going to significantly compensate our customers for it. And last but not least, I wanted to do a quick demo for you. Michael mentioned brownout remediation earlier, and I really want to hit home the fact that with SD-WAN, there's no such thing as a primary or secondary. Sure, if you've got a wireless circuit, we could build it to where, you know, that only kicks in should your wired circuit fail. But in this scenario, we're going to highlight a cable circuit that's experiencing 2% packet loss and the effect that that's going to have on a video conference. So on the box you'll see on the left, which has quote-unquote standard failover, there's a clean bonded T1 as a secondary circuit on that side, but you're going to see that the primary circuit didn't actually fail, so that T1 didn't actually engage, and you're going to see the effect of that. And then on the right, you're going to see how our SD-WAN Enterprise solution would handle that same scenario with those 2 circuits. And like I mentioned, there's no such thing as a primary and a secondary. What it's going to do is it's going to real-time, it's going to send the packets over the cleanest circuit available at any moment in time, and you'll see how it handles this 2% packet loss. And you'll see the video on the left is really unusable. That bonded T1, which is a secondary circuit, is not engaging because the primary only has packet loss, right? It's not actually failing, and so there's your end game there. And then on the right, the SD-WAN Enterprise is able to sense that packet loss real time and accordingly send the packets over the cleaner backup, or not even backup, the cleaner second circuit, which is a T1 in this scenario. And so I wanted to leave you guys with this as a demo. Just this is the power of the SD-WAN Enterprise solution and SD-WAN as a whole. And so now we're going to open it up to questions. So I'll hand it back over to Michael, and we can go through and answer any questions you guys may have.
Great. Thank you so much, Matt. We do have several questions that have come in from chat. So again, find that chat window, pop your questions right there, and we will walk through them right now. We appreciate your attention and asking questions. So first off, the question is, since SD-WAN relies 100% on the quality of the internet line, do you recommend that all SD-WANs, really all customers, should have 2 internet connections from each, or from a different provider? And the answer would be yes, we do in fact, because for so many organizations, uptime is critical. Now, if you've got a site that truly could be offline for a day and it's no big deal, or minimal, then okay, go with a single circuit. But otherwise, we highly recommend redundancy. And that's not even just an SD-WAN thing, that's just in general, have 2 connections. But as you're seeing, SD-WAN does a great job of utilizing them. You can load balance across them, so use them both all the time, get the best bang for the bandwidth that you have. And then with SD-WAN Enterprises, you're seeing that's going to do a great job of ensuring that the traffic is optimized as much as possible, highest possible performance across those circuits that you do have. Next section is, does SD-WAN tunnel terminate at a VPN concentrator that's located at a data center? So let's talk real quick about the architecture of the 2, because for one of them it's yes and for one no. So we've got the 2 solutions. Pro is the first one, Enterprise is the second one. let's talk about Pro first off. So with Pro, there's a security appliance that's going to be sitting at each of the sites. So each of the branch locations, and typically there's a hub of some sort as well. So it's not really a concentrator so much, but it does serve as a hub and spoke for the VPN environment. Now, it's not looking at the traffic in the same way as with enterprise. Remember, this is session-based. It does have the ability to prioritize traffic on the upstream side at the point of the security appliance, but it's not going to fix anything across the circuits if there's brownouts or anything of that sort. It's just going to do failover and traffic shaping on the upstream side. Now, enterprise, a little bit different architecture. At the enterprise side of things, there's both a router at the customer location, and there is SD-WAN gear, another router sitting in data centers in what we call the gateway throughout the US. And so every site is associated to a primary gateway. There's backup gateways as well, but a primary gateway, and that is forming a tunnel across the last mile. So it's looking at all the packets in both directions in real time, and that's how it's able to shift amongst the circuits. And you can go anywhere from 2 to 6 circuits. I mean, you can have a single circuit as well, but obviously best performance is going to be with at least 2 and up to 6 circuits. And then if you need to continue on there to, say, a data center or a hub location like headquarters, then the VPN continues from the gateway to the other gateway across the last mile into the customer data center or the headquarters. So enterprise, yes, things on both ends of the last mile. Pro, just devices at the customer location. Do you serve Canada and international locations? So we take anything outside of the 48 states, Alaska, and Hawaii on a case-by-case basis. So bring it to your channel manager, and we'll take a look at the overall solution, if that makes sense for us. Let me scroll down a little bit here. Platforms. So yes, the SD-WAN Pro utilizes security appliances from Meraki, so your Cisco Meraki MX devices, such as the 64, 84, 100, and so on. And SD-WAN Enterprise, based on my description, you probably thought, oh, that sounds like VeloCloud. And it is true, it is. That is based on VeloCloud technology. But these are all managed and owned solutions installed by MegaPath technicians. All of our support is 100% US-based, and so it's all about what we're going to stand up and manage for you. So come to us with questions and solution needs, etc. Last question I'm seeing here, does your SD-WAN offer data compression? We're not, I'm trying to think who there's a provider out there that, I don't think it was, unfortunately it's escaping me. We're not doing data compression per se. There are some solutions that do offer that, and you can certainly stream those right over the top of either of our SD-WAN offerings, but even without compressed data, SD-WAN does a fine job, as you saw, of making sure you're getting optimal performance out of the circuits that you do have. And compressing it would just mean you could pack that much more data through it at the same time. So any other questions, we're happy to answer. Now's a fine time. Just plug those right into the chat window. We do very much appreciate your attendance today. We've got my contact information right there, and if we have a question for Matt, we can always reach him once you connect with your channel manager or myself. So I don't see any other questions, so thank you very much, everyone. I'll go ahead and stop the recording now. We appreciate your attendance today and working with MegaPath. And Matt, thank you so much for joining me today. Have a fantastic afternoon, everyone.